Poorscythe with Final Fantasy II. So let's go ahead and get that started.
Okay. Yeah, switch the scenery.
There we go.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Final Fantasy II, The Search for More Money. That's the unofficial subtitle. My name is Poorscythe. I've had a lot of people tell me that they've been looking forward to this run, and the only question I have for them is why. I'll give my couch a chance to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Sonarath 11.
Freedom Pulse 97.
I'm the Axeman, and this is Taskbot.
There he is. The Magic Man. Bot. So I'm going to need the names of the characters starting with Furion.
Alrighty, well, it looks like Furion is going to be named Taskbot.
Hey.
What a shock. He certainly didn't buy his way into this run. And then Maria's name?
Looks like Maria's name is going to be Clage.
Oh boy. We're in for some funny dialogue then. Oops, that's the wrong one. Guy's name.
Guy's name is going to be Girl.
We're going to have some really interesting dialogue then.
This dialogue is going to be great.
And finally, Leon.
And it looks like Leon is going to be Dio.
D-I-O?
D-I-O, indeed.
Okay. So we
Down
will
too
get
long in
started
Midnight
here.
Shore.
I'm going to press start. So on 3, 2, 1, go. So I'm going to let this cutscene play out. This is normally skippable, but I figure that people that are unfamiliar with the run might wish to see this. So, I mean, you get this idyllic start that comes to an end. This is what happens when the Fire Nation attacks. So, I've been running this for maybe a year and a half, seriously. I picked up a copy of this alongside FF1 PSP, which those of you who are familiar might have seen me run that at Limit Break last year. And I eventually got a little curious about this run, because I had never actually finished the game when I bought that. The first time I ever played Final Fantasy II was the Final Fantasy The Origins remake on PlayStation 1, and I'll be honest, I absolutely hated it. It was not a lot of fun with the way I like to play RPGs, which is, you know, exploring everywhere and finding all the treasures and fighting all the battles, because so many of the design decisions in this game could be considered poor decisions. For example, an opening, inescapable, unwinnable battle. Like this. So I can't actually win this battle. I can't do anything in this battle. This is actually the only battle in the entire run that I'm hoping is an ambush, so I die quicker.
And fun fact, you can actually hack in equipment into the game and win the battle, and then it will just send you back to the title screen. So
Sounds like a task strat.
Yeah. So here these nice citizens of Fynn who've been driven from their homeland have come across the bodies of our protagonists right off the bat. And here we see the Princess Hilda and her advisor Minwu putting us back together and discussing sensitive military matters over our body for whatever reason. So here we're going to wake up now and wonder where all our compatriots are. Where's Taskbot? Where am I? girl, where are you? Taskbot, you're alive. So 3 of the 4 of us have reconvened right here at the beginning of the game. Our pal Leon, a.k.a. Dio, is missing, though. And right away, we walk into the chamber of the princess to thank her for rescuing us. And we basically immediately wish to join the resistance here. And she basically says that we're too young, we're too inexperienced, we can't possibly offer anything to the resistance right off the bat. So she says no, but she says we're welcome to stay here and do that. And then if you talk to other towns members, they will mention that a citizen has been found wounded and is back in the town that we just left. So it's a little hint about where to go now. So in the meantime, just turning some options on for speed and taking off everyone's gear except for 1 shield on each character. And I'm going to take a save here. Oops.
One thing you may have noticed in him talking to Princess Hilda is that he did learn a key word, and you will learn multiple keywords throughout the game. The one that he learned from Hilda was Wild Rose.
Yes, there's a word memory system in this game that has been used to advance the plot to make it more interactive compared to Final Fantasy 1. So over the course of interacting with characters, I will see these highlighted terms that I can learn, and then I can basically learn the term and recite it back to other characters that I can interact with. So I took a quick safety save here. You're going to see me doing that a lot during this run, just because it is the easiest way to recover from any mistakes that I make, and the easiest way to react to any combat situation that I find myself in right now.
Yeah, luckily in this game, like in Final Fantasy 1, you're able to save literally whenever, and so, like Poorscythe said, you'll be seeing that a lot, especially later on in the game when there's some pretty dangerous situations that can pop up.
So I thought I would, just take a nice quick jaunt through this town and do absolutely nothing in there. So if you're wondering why I might be doing that, I'm attempting to follow a step count throughout the game. I didn't mean to run there, but that's something I just do reflexively at this point. It's okay if I don't do that. So the way the game works is that each time you start up the game, there's a hidden step counter that will be advancing with every step I take, with a couple exceptions here. And my goal is to try to maintain a specific value at each point of the run so that I can dictate when encounters occur and minimize the number of encounters I'm going to get over the course of the run. So this counter basically goes from 0 to 255 and then resets, and at specific values I will get an encounter. So I will have predictable intervals over a cycle of encounters here. And I get more encounters on the overworld than I will in some dungeons. So it's more important for me to be step counting in the early part of the run here. So here we've made it to Finn, where the rumored soldier is being kept here. And this is still a dangerous town, as it's occupied. And these giant bees have moved in as well. So we're just going to punch some bees to get through this. But that should be the last encounter I see before I get to the pub that's on the outskirts of town here. And we see there's there's soldiers everywhere, and this barkeep basically says, you can have the bar. I don't want to deal with it. These guys are driving me out of business. So once I talk to him, there's a secret room in the back, and here we find the Commander Scott from Kashuan, who is the betrothed of Princess Hilda. But unfortunately, he's suffering from life-threatening wounds. And we're not going to find Maria's brother Dio here like we were hoping. So I hope you guys, especially in the chat, are getting your Fs, Bible thumps, and oofs all ready for this, because there's going to be a lot of these unfortunate stage deaths here. So Scott hands over his ring here. This is a nice little item which will feature as a key item I can show to other characters using the word memory system that we mentioned earlier. And additionally, it also functions as a world map. Now, for the purposes of this run, I'm not really going to be doing that. And at the very end of that section there, I took one extra step and then one extra step back. So basically 2 extra steps to try to maintain my count. If I hadn't taken that, I would be getting an extra encounter as soon as I got outside the town. So my early goal this one is to keep all of my characters alive. I don't want any of them to die right now. But that's a little difficult in this game because there's all these enemies that are doing, you know, nasty status effects right off the bat. These hornets especially are just poisoning me with it. But I'm using this time to grind up some skill levels with the character's unarmed skill and their shield skills, which is the 2 items that they have equipped on their weapon slots right now.
Yeah, so leveling in this game doesn't work like it does in Final Fantasy 1 or in most, in a lot of JRPGs. It actually works kind of more like an Elder Scrolls game where you have every type of weapon you have fists, you have swords, spears, shields. Every time you use those specific weapons in a battle, that weapon skill will gain experience, and as that skill levels up, you'll be gaining the ability to get extra evasion with your abilities or hit more with your attacks. And the same thing goes with your HP values, your MP values, and everything. That everything is based on, if you take damage, you get stamina, which increases the amount of HP you get. You get HP at mostly set intervals. And all of that is, again, based sort of on usage.
Usage or need.
Or need.
Basically, yeah. I mean, if I get attacked by enemies, my agility can go up, my HP can go up. All sorts of things can happen like that. As you see right there, I got to level up, or HP level up on all 3 of my characters there.
Something else you may have noticed when Poorscythe was in battle is 2 of his characters got poisoned but healed their poison status. There are 2 different types of poison statuses in the game. One will persist after battle, and one does not persist after battle. And the poison that we're encountering right now is the one that will not persist after battle.
So when we talked to Scott earlier, Scott basically told us that Count Borgen betrayed the forces of Finn. And he also told us that he loves Hilda, but unfortunately, seeing as he was dying, he didn't want us to tell her that. So we neglect to tell her that at this point. And then, as proof of our courage for obtaining Scott's ring at this point, we are sent on an errand to try to obtain Mithril, which is an important resource that the Resistance needs. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to take off Minwoo's gear. Minwoo's joined the party now, and he gave us his fancy canoe as well that will let us cross rivers effortlessly. It's much quicker to obtain this in FF2 than it was in FF1, where you had to go all the way through Lich and then through another town just to get the canoe. And in here we have it inside of 10 minutes, just from a very powerful NPC giving it to us right off the bat. So my next goal is to try to find the Mithril, which is being mined from Semet Falls. The citizens of Salaman have been enslaved to do the mining. But I have to make my way around to get to there first. And this game features an interesting little boat and airship system here. Everybody say hi to Sid. This is his first appearance in this series as an airship captain. So he runs a nice little profitable business here. So I have to purchase boat rides to get between towns, and then they follow fixed paths in the early going of the run. And the same thing with airships. I mean, I can go into Poft right there and purchase a direct flight from Sid for a certain fee, depending on my destination here. So now I got a free flight, or not a free flight, I had to pay for it to Summit Falls. And this is where the grinding begins in earnest. So I'm going to be trying to get all of my Taskbot, Klage, and Girl to have level 5 unarmed and level 5 shields over the course of this dungeon, so that they are able to take on the sergeant that is guarding the Mithril at the very end here. And I'm going to be following a very specific path again, trying to keep my step route intact. To be healing, taking safety saves just as I feel necessary.
Well, Poorscythe, my man, if you don't mind, I have a couple of donations here for you.
This is a wonderful time because there's going to be quite a bit of punching for a little bit.
Roger that, man. We got one from Cardone1183 that says, "This is my second year watching and second year donating. Wanted to give a shout out to Poorscythe as he takes on FF2. Best of luck on the run. Kelsey and I will be watching."
All right, thank you. So then, okay, let's have more fights.
I got another one here for you from Jackal DC that says, "Poorscythe, hope you're having a good run this morning. Sorry, I can't stay up to watch it, but remember to go fast."
Thank you again. Okay, so let me check the status of these guys. The Furion is level 2, 3, 3. Okay, so I need to take a couple more fights to get Taskbot to where he needs to be, and then I can change up my strategy a little bit. That's pretty good. Okay. So the way that the skilling works in this is that my characters essentially have to take a minimum number of attacks in order to get credit for registering enough experience to be able to gain skill levels. So in this early going, Taskbot only has level 2 fists here. In order to get him up to level 3, he has to take 4 attacks against enemies spread over 2 battles, but he only gets experience if he takes at least 2 fights, or 2 attacks in a fight. So this should be the last one I need before I can begin the grinding from level 3 to 5 for Taskbot, Klage, and Girl. And Minwoo is just going to be our standby that's at level 2 in the background. So that should get Taskbot to level 3. And I'll just double check that. 3, 3, 3. Okay. Now I'm going to change up my strategy a little bit and put everybody in the back row. So this is the first implementation in the series of a back row, and it doesn't work like the back row in many of the other series, or many of the other games in series. So how it works in this one is I have to leave one character at all times in the front row, at least one character, and the other characters can be front or back row. Characters that are in the back row can only land attacks with spells or with ranged weapons like bows, and enemies that are using physical attacks cannot attack any of the characters in the back row similarly. So it looks like I'm doing very little here. But what I'm basically doing is my characters are taking actions and gaining experience for doing so, even though they're not actually landing the attacks. Oops. Okay. Then Minwoo is still in the front row here, so he can actually land attacks and we'll finish off these fights. So to go from level 3 shields and fists, my characters need to do take 7 actions over 2 combat rounds. So I did 3 there, and I'm going to do 4 on the next fight here. A lot of this is free form. I mean, this depends on the enemies that I get, the number of enemies that I see. So I'm just kind of improvising as it goes here. So each of my Taskbot, Klage, and Girl are basically going to have to take 4 rounds of attacks to get the rest of the experience they're going to need to get to level 4 shields and fists. So it looks a little silly when you do it this way, but this is pretty efficient to do it this way. And putting them in the back row like this allows me to control the fight, because they're very safe in the back row. They can't be struck by these Sasquatches unless Minwoo, unfortunately, dies. And he's considerably overpowered compared to the other characters I have in my party right now.
Plus, if he gets close to falling, Minwoo comes with a lot of pretty high-level white magic abilities, including Cure. So even if that were to be the case, he could heal himself pretty easily if he needed to.
Okay, that should be all I need there.
Yeah, Minwu starts off with Cure at level 7, just about level 8, so the first cast you use with Minwu gets Cure up to level 8 and increases how much it will heal.
I'll just take a quick heal there for safety's sake. So I'm also detouring throughout this dungeon to make some additional money. As I did mention, this is the search for more money. And we're still working on it early in the run, as money's a little tight in the early going. So I've been fighting everything in an effort to try to make as much money as possible so that I can afford some fire tomes that will help me get through the snow cavern for the early part of the run. After that, I will have access to a powerful mini game that will give me a lot of money, and money will be less of a concern from that point forward. All right, so this is round 3. I'm going to be doing, to go from level 4 to level 5, my character's Taskbot Collegian Girl need to do 11 actions over 2 combats. So they can basically, but they have to do a minimum of 4 actions in any combat to get experience towards that. So they can basically do 7-4, they can do 4-7, they can split it 5 and 6. Either way to get 11 actions. So I think this is what, number 4 or 5 here? I think that's 6. I think that's 7 at this point. Alright, so that will get me the first part of the experience I need to get to level 5, and I have to do 1 more combat. And here we have Paul, a thief that is a righteous thief that's working for the rebels here. He's rescuing Joseph's daughter Nellie, who has been imprisoned in here, along with the others. So we rescue him here, and that turns into a favor that he'll repay us with later. I'm going to detour to grab this fire tome, because I'm going to need these later on. And it's cheaper to find them than it is to buy them. Okay. So this should be the last grind fight I need to do if I do this properly. So my goal in these grind fights is to basically minimize the number of enemies that are on screen and then just control the fight until my characters have taken enough actions to get the experience they need, and then finish the fight with Minwu. Now, unfortunately, these Goblin Guards have ranged attacks that they can utilize, which can hit my characters in the back row. So this makes them a little more dangerous than the average enemy I'd like to fight at this point. This should be the last round here. And the PSP version has a very convenient defend command, so my characters can pass their turns without having to take actions. Not something that is present in the GBA version. So now that I have that, I'm going to double shield on everyone to make running away easier. This raises their evasion chance. Nope, I don't need that. Run away. So you wouldn't think it, but shields basically increase your control the order of when your characters go and how easy it is for them to run away from combat. So double shielding makes it doubly more effective. So we use the bucklers that we bought right early on, but I'm going to take them off here so that we can punch the sergeant guarding the Mithril here. And I'll heal, and I'll just take a save for the heck of it. It shouldn't be very dangerous, but just in case.
I was about to remind you to save too.
Yeah, these guys here on the couch are here to ask questions if they're just not sure of something, and to remind me to save everywhere. Because that is the worst mistake I can make, is just basically not saving for a long period of time and then getting caught unawares by an ambush or just making a very dumb mistake and having to repeat it.
Yeah, and that sergeant fight that he just beat can ambush you, and if he does, he can kill a couple of your party members before you could get an action in, so. Luckily, that did not happen this time, but it's always good to have that save in there.
Minwu also comes with teleport here, which is a convenient way to get into and out of dungeons very quickly. Although it does leave him, teleport has a very interesting side effect in this game that if you use it in the field to get out of it, it lowers your character's health to a pretty dangerous level. So as you can see, he's hanging on the edge of death there. But that's actually a good thing in this case, because I don't mind if Minwu dies off at this point in the run. I can actually take advantage of the fact that he might be dead to save on some combat time due to an unusual quirk with the Battle Rose. If he happens to fall, I'll show you what I mean. This is a good chance here. He's quite a dodger, though. He lives for another fight, at least.
I got a couple more donations here for you, man, if you got the time.
Well, there goes Minwu. Okay, so now that he's dead, just give me 1 second to explain this, and we can try to do that. We can take advantage of the fact that he is dead and leave him in the front row. And my remaining characters can basically sit in the back row untouched for these fights. And if I happen to get ambushed, the only enemies that will get a chance to attack are the ones that are closer towards the front of the enemy formation. But if there's no valid targets that are alive in the front row, their animations don't happen. So it's an easy way for me to skip a bunch of animations and just save a bunch of time. But if I get ambushed, then there's no characters that are considered alive in the front row, and my remaining characters in the back row get pushed to the front automatically. So meanwhile, I'm just returning the Mithril Shield here to Altair, so this is a pretty good time for donations here.
Roger that. We have a $200 donation from Cheshire Cat. And the donation reads, had to make my first donation of this event during a real classic of the genre. I'm sure most of us have been touched by mental illness directly or indirectly. Eliminating stigma and providing real support cannot be valued highly enough. Thank you, Nami, and thank you, RPG Limit Break. And that goes to the runner's choice.
Okay. So I had to take the Mithril that I got in Summit Falls straight back to Altair where I started it and turn it into the blacksmith Tobal, who is masquerading as just an old man. I don't know why he's doing that in a town that seems like pretty much a safe haven. But whatever floats your boat. So in the meantime, I'm continuing on here. The next target is the Empire is building a massive warship you might have just seen there in the background called the Dreadnought. And the next task that I would have been given is to essentially try to stop the warship before it finishes being built. If I try to go here earlier, a character called the Dark Knight is basically managing things effectively and is scared the townsfolk into assisting us. But the aforementioned Count Borgin that betrayed us, the Dark Knight left the town to go do something else and left Borgin in charge, and nobody respects Borgin here. So as soon as you do that, you're able to come in here, and there's a sympathizer in Bafsk here that will basically let us into the sewers that will get us over to where the Dreadnought is. And I need to change my robes. This is a short little mini dungeon here. These enemies are not particularly dangerous at this point. I just have to be a little careful because Minwu is down and he's the only source of healing at this point. But here we see the actual Dark Knight apparently wasn't off anywhere else. He was actually just working behind the scenes, unbeknownst to us. And there's Count Borgin, who sounds like a turkey. Someone mentioned that in my chat, and I couldn't unhear it. So unfortunately, we were not able to stop the Dreadnought here. But very conveniently, someone left us a nice little access item over here in this chest. Hey, a free pass to board the ship. Not going to use that for a little while, but you have to obtain it here. And then take this conveniently located warpad.
Don't forget to change your rose again.
Yep, I gotta do that again. So every time I get ambushed, my characters essentially are gonna get pushed back to the front row, and in an effort to keep them safe, I have to go into the menu and put them back into the back row to try to just minimize their risk of getting killed from random encounters. And once again, I'm trying to stay on a certain step count here as much as possible. So what this basically means is that throughout the run, I will be taking additional steps at certain locations in an effort to try to push the count to a safe number at certain locations. Especially, I want certain encounter numbers to occur while I'm in safe areas like towns, or if I'm on the canoe where encounters can't actually happen. And I've baked in steps over the course of this run to ensure that I can try to keep it as safe as possible. So I'm going to be taking some extra steps here so that I do not take an encounter. And here we talk with Sid to learn some key terms here. And then by our ship to our next destination, I'm going to take 6 extra steps there. But I'm not going to board the ship yet, because I have to make one more trip down to Altair. It's a bit of a design flaw that all this early backtracking in the game, just to advance the plot and other things. So if you notice, these port towns are looking a little battle-scarred all of a sudden, because that dreadnought has apparently been laying waste to them in the short time that it's been operational. Including Altair here is going to look a little different. Going to talk with the princess here. And she's telling us that the king, who was wounded in the original battle that was shown in the opening cutscene, is taking a turn for the worse. And it's Minwu's responsibility as a healer to see to his well-being, even if he can't necessarily prevent what's going to happen next. So Minwu leaves our party here, leaving us with no healer. But we'll still be okay. So we're going to talk to the king and learn one more key term. So I've picked up the terms airship, sunfire, and goddess's bell. And these are going to be critical to the next couple of destinations that I'm going for. And while I'm here, I'm actually going to stop into the magic shop here and sell some items that I picked up in the Bath's Cave. And then I'm going to buy some blizzard tomes I'm going to need for an upcoming boss fight. And then everything else that I have in my money, I'm going to be using to buy fire tomes. And then I'm going to need that to get through the snow cavern later. So that was the purpose of all the fighting early on, was to make as much money as possible to try to make it as quick of and painless of a trip as possible. In a world record run. I mean, this is based on the world record run, this route, by Nikki Noel. I've made just some quick modifications for marathon safety. But ideally, you want to take only one trip there to Altair to buy tomes, and then hope they last you through the next 3 dungeons after that. But I often find that that's not going to work very well, so I've worked an extra detour to buy more tomes in there just to ensure that I have enough to get through this. It'll cost me about a minute here, but it increases the marathon safety. So in the meantime here, we've gone to Salamand, and now that we rescued Nellie earlier from the mines, Joseph will join our party. And Joseph slots in very nicely into the front row that was vacated by Minwu, so I don't have to do any manipulation there. But Joseph has access to a snowcraft that is located all the way back in Semet, where we were just at, finding that. But so we have to go obtain that first. So again, there's just kind of more unusual backtracking, which is like not the greatest thing about this game. This is probably not one of the better casual FF games in the series, but it's an interesting speedrun, I find. It solves a lot of the problems. I mean, if you don't know where you're going in this game casually and you just wander around, you're going to find that you're getting into a lot of encounters with a lot of very powerful enemies. And if you don't build your party appropriately, you can find yourself overmatched very quickly and very often. And it can be very frustrating, which is how I found it when I first played on the Origins version.
Especially if you start heading over towards Mysidia, because those encounters ramp up very quickly.
Yeah, there's a direction you can go on the world map, like at the very beginning when we first went to Finn, where if you take a wrong turn, you'll end up just in an enemy domain of one of the later areas in the game, and which is always a fun thing to have happen.
Well, the interesting thing about the map in this game is it's more or less contiguous. I mean, the entire continent and the world is almost one solid landmass that just kind of wraps around. There's a couple of islands you can't reach, but for the most part, I mean, you could basically walk almost the entire map right off the bat. You're just going to be probably overmatched a little quickly. So now that we have the snowcraft, I can actually take advantage of a little mini game that you can play while you're on here. Oops. That's not the one I want. I am not very good at this mini game, but thankfully I don't have to be. I only have to solve this one time, and then I'm going to use it to make a bunch of money. That was here. That was it. Okay. Okay. First try. So what I'm actually doing now is I'm taking a quick screenshot of this because there's an interesting quirk about this puzzle system. Each time you launch the puzzle, it generates 32 puzzles. 10, 11, 12, 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 31. And puts them in a predictable sequence.
So all you have to do is you just solve the puzzle the first time, and then if you start and stop the puzzle 31 times, then on the 32nd time, it'll pull up with the same puzzle that you started with, which allows you to manipulate it, because if you're able to solve the puzzle with 0 misses, then you get a lot of money and some really nice items as well. And this is the way that we solve the issues with money for the rest of the game and are able to store up on items and tomes to get us through a lot of the rest of the game pretty early on.
Fun fact about this game, if you actually decide to grind leveling spells, if you level Toad up to level 16, you'll actually get a different version of this game that has pictures of the Toads instead of pictures of the characters, and you can get the strongest weapons and armor in the game from that puzzle.
So my goal there was to basically solve the original puzzle so that I can figure out the pattern. Yeah, as they said, cycle it, and then at that point repeat the game, and cycle it over to the solution that I found, and then input it without making any mistakes. And by doing so, I earn 20,000 gil, an elixir which sells for 25,000 more gil, and a cottage which sells for 3,000 gil. So that's 48,000 gil. And if I also happen to set the best time, I get an additional 20,000 gil on top of that. So I get 68,000 gil for winning it each time. For winning it 3 times in a row, it's like 200,000 gil. Will be more than enough for all the resources I need for pretty much the rest of the run. And then as soon as I do that, oops, I am ready to tackle the snow cave here. This is the first instance of the run we're going to see of unrunnable encounters. So I'm going to have to start using some of these fire tomes that I purchased earlier in order to handle some encounters if I happen to get unrunnable ones. So these snowmen are perfectly runnable. That hodgepodge of goblins and mines was not.
Yeah, and unlike in Final Fantasy 1, if you caught that run last year in the past where there was a predictable way to tell where if an enemy was on a trap tile, then that meant that it would be unrunnable. There's really not any sort of continuity at all as to which encounters are and are not. There's some trends, but for the most part, it's just every area just has a set list of unrunnables, and you just kind of have to know which ones those are or have a spreadsheet in front of you to figure that out.
It is, yeah. As someone who is well-versed with the FF1 PSP run, I was usually able to quickly identify enemy encounters that were unrunnable in that game very quickly, there's actually a few seconds where the enemies are loading in and you can quickly scan that and then tell if they're runnable, and it's pretty consistent throughout most of the run. That is not the case here. There are many formations that can look very similar to each other. They can also appear in different locations and be entirely runnable in one spot and unrunnable in another. It's a confusing thing to identify them. So I'm actually looking for very specific patterns for the most part. If I see this, pretty much these grenades or balloons, that means it's unrunnable here. And the quickest way that I have to deal with them is going to be using fire tomes here. I'm getting a lot of these. This is kind of unlucky. But it only takes one tome to get rid of these, thankfully, at a time. I'm going to pick up one more Blizzard tome up here, which should be enough resources to get me through the boss at the end of this. And we're getting yet another unrunnable here.
One thing you might notice whenever the tomes are used as an item is that they cast the 8th level version of the spell in the case of the elemental spells, and they'll do a lot of damage just because they're 8th level.
So this should be runnable.
Yeah, and for the record, because we didn't mention it, every spell has 16 levels, and it requires a lot of grinding to get it to that point, even to get it to level 8. So the fact that you can just toss out a tome and it will do an 8th level spell as an area of effect is really, really nice.
Yeah, when you're using tome, there's two uses for tomes. You can use it to teach yourself a spell, or you can use it to just throw it as an item in combat. So here is a giant beaver, and our friend Girl speaks beaver.
Oh boy.
Oh, guys, you donators.
Wow.
You made this possible. Okay. That's a little, fun thing. I don't have to talk to that, but I think it's a funny little dialogue, and shows one of the key uses of Guy's character over the course of the run. Guy is portrayed as generally a not very intelligent individual, but is a strong character and has affinity with certain animals. So we're on the last floor here, for the last deep floor, and then I'll have to return to the first floor to get out of the dungeon. Joseph, unfortunately, does not know teleport, and I don't have any teleport tomes at this point. I'm going to heal him just in case. Don't want him dying until I'm ready for him to die.
Spoilers.
I see what you did there.
Alright, so here we go. I'm going to save once again. Again, this is a pretty safe fight, but I'm just going to make sure I save everywhere for marathon safety.
And this is where the Blizzard tomes are going to come into play, because Adamantoise's weakness is Blizzard.
Yeah, he lives in an ice cave, but he's weak to Blizzard.
Yeah, it was a little short-sighted of him. So I'm hoping to do 675 damage to kill him. And I'm not sure I did enough with that. They looked a little low rolls, so I'm going to actually do... Maria has the highest intelligence of all my characters, so she will do the most damage if she throws tomes. And I can guarantee that this will end in 4 rounds if she throws 3 of the 4 tomes. So this should be the last hit I need to finish this off, and Joseph remains in the front to tank the hits. Ooh, and even dropped a diamond shield. That's a wonderful bonus.
That's very nice to see.
So the diamond shield actually has a higher evasion rate than the shields that I purchased earlier, and ones that I will buy later. So that increases Furion's chance to go really early into combat order, and his chance to run. So I'm going to put that on. That's a very valuable item. So this put me back on the first floor here after going through there. Jeez, that is a lot of unrunnable encounters here. So I got very unlucky here, and I'm definitely going to have to take the detour I was planning to go get more tomes.
Yeah, if you were going for a world record at this point, if you had this many unrunnable encounters, then you'd probably start to get a little worried that you'd just have to reset, because, like you mentioned, taking a detour to buy more fire tomes costs a lot of time.
Okay. So here's Borgin. The girl's gonna punch Borgin, I think. Right in his turkey gobbling throat. One shot. So he's kind of a pushover. And I could have opted to put all of my characters in the front row there and punch him with any of them just to make sure that he goes down. But my party order is about to change a little bit, and this is anticipating it. So he has one little parting gift, Indiana Jones amusement ride.
Unfortunately, Borgin gets the last gobble.
So Joseph uses his strength here to hold the boulder long enough for us to get out of the way. But unfortunately, that's not going to end well for him.
Fairly well, Joseph.
We get F's in chat for Joseph.
Yeah, we're going to need Fs.
Oh yeah, we got the Fs in chat, guys.
Excellent.
He did his job, and he did his job well. But unfortunately, his job is done.
Unless you play Soul of Rebirth.
This is true.
Yeah.
Okay. So that little cutscene I showed earlier cost me one additional encounter in the step count. I think it was worth it. I don't know about you guys.
Oh, yeah.
So we're out of
Absolutely.
here and just have to make our way across the snow plains here. We get 2 encounters before I get off. And then I'm going to take a couple extra steps here because the encounter rate is actually lower on the snow plains here. So I'm going to advance the count enough that I would skip an encounter that I would get on the rest of the overworld.
Well, Poorscythe, is this a good time to sneak in a few donations?
Yep.
We have a $10 donation from Epic Rainer that says, shout out to Poorscythe for getting me into speedrunning mini FF games. Good luck and bless RNG.
Ooh, thank you, Epic Rainer.
We have a $150 donation from K Fizzle that says, Suikoden reminded me of a manga I once read called... I'm not even going to try to read that, man. You know what you said, and if you guys are interested in seeing what that was, he says that he is going to donate it to name the main character after that. So that brings up another point. There are many bid wars ahead of us, the previously mentioned one being one of them. So absolutely check those out, get those donations in. We are nearing 30K, so there is no reason that we shouldn't be able to get a lot of these met. Definitely before the end of this run.
All right, so I'm using all the money I got earlier to buy a bunch of supplies that will last me the rest of this run. Notably, I'm going to need Phoenix Downs and high potions to keep my party healthy.
Just blowing through that 200K.
Yeah. Okay. And then I'm also going to buy some spells here. I'm going to buy Life Tomes, Warp Tomes, and Teleport Tomes. Most important are the Teleport Tomes because I'm going to be stacking up on a lot of those. They're going to be a prominent item I use in combat to get rid of a lot of enemies. A significant number of enemies in this game are vulnerable to the matter element, which is what the teleport is classified as, including many bosses that you wouldn't think would be vulnerable. So it's going to be my primary method of dealing with enemies for pretty much the rest of the run. So I got to take one last detour in Poft here. I need to buy one more ship, and I need to buy the airship to my next destination, Kashuin.
I find it kind of interesting that they made a lot of the bosses vulnerable to the matter abilities.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe it's just another design oversight, but there are a surprising number that are extremely vulnerable. So thankfully this is the last backtrack I have to do for the early part of the run. It lengthens this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I really hope I did that right. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. And of all the matter abilities or abilities that kind of change the state of an enemy. Teleport has by far the highest hit rate, which is why we picked that up as opposed to, as funny as it would be, a spell like Mini or Toad. The result is funny of turning some of the hardest bosses in the game into Toads. The hit rate for Teleport is much better.
Yeah, the funny thing about like Toad and Mini is like a successful Toad and Mini on many enemies counts as basically a kill. So I mean, it's not necessarily a status so much as killing an enemy like that. But the advantage of Teleport is it's more readily accessible, and it's also cheaper to mass purchase the tomes. And it does have a higher success rate as well. So I'm going to go over here to Cashuin. The Goddess's Bell I picked up is an important item I need to be able to progress further in this dungeon. And Girl's taking these hits like a champ over here. Oops, I did not. Shoutouts to FF9, where that was repeated.
Yeah, actually, a fun note is in FF9 during the trial to get the Rama summon, he tells a story, and that story is actually the story of Joseph in this game as well. So there's actually a lot of references throughout this series to this game, even though it's one of the, I guess, one of the lesser well known as to what actually goes on in this game.
The black sheep.
Yes.
This is very much a black sheep. Teleport tomes. I'm going to teach some spells to my characters that they'll be using throughout the run. Most important, many of these are safeties. Okay, and since I took the detour, I have to advance the counter back over to where I'm expecting it to be. Unfortunately, I forgot to take 3 additional steps earlier, so that's going to throw this off a little bit, but I can catch that up before too much longer. So Cashuin's not a particularly dangerous dungeon here. Oops. Oh, I did not do that. I forgot to reorganize mine.
Although we're having the boss of the last dungeon as a regular enemy now.
I was supposed to do this earlier outside of combat, but we'll get it done.
And now to see the power of teleport.
Yeah, the Adamantoise we fought earlier is extremely vulnerable to it. Alright, let me correct my party. Alright, we're going to leave Gordon in front to take hits. These were-rats are unfortunately unrunnable, so I'm going to use teleport as well on them.
And you see that little like slimy animation above Gordon's head. That was the kind of permanent poison status that we talked about at the beginning of the run.
Yeah, there's many of the statuses in the game have a temporary version that's only active in combat, and there's also a more permanent version that persists outside of combat. And there's actually 2 spells in the game, one that cures one in combat and another that cures them, like Isuna, outside of combat. It's a little confusing, and probably completely unnecessary, honestly.
Yeah, the one that cures within combat is Basuna, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It's not something you're going to see in this run, though. So I have to make my way through here to pick up an item called Eagle's Torch in order to obtain the Sunfire, which is an item I'm going to need to destroy the Dreadnought later on. The only way to transport it safely is to transfer it, the Sunfire, from its current brazier to the Eagle's Torch. So yeah, it's a bad luck running there, but that was a perfectly runnable encounter. So here we go, an ambush again. Gordon's down for the count right now, and he can stay there because I don't need him at the moment.
Just taking a nice little nap.
He's needing his beauty sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll get him back up just in time for the next boss fight. That's where he really shines. Whoops, I left my characters in the front row. So this is the danger of if I accidentally leave my characters in the front row, they're vulnerable to ambush attacks by enemies, which could prove very problematic, very costly, especially with later dungeons. So it's good that I make that mistake now against relatively weak enemies so I can show that and show the danger of that. It's not a mistake I want to be repeating over and over in this run.
Yeah, it will become very dangerous later on in the run.
Should get one more encounter here. And unfortunately, I'm also getting quite a lot of unrunnables here. There's plenty of other enemy formations in this dungeon that are runnable, but I'm not seeing very many of them. So I'm getting slowed down here. And not much I can really do about it. Alright, so here is Red Soul. This is probably many people's first real roadblock if they were playing this game casually. I didn't change their weapons. Let me change their weapons. Oops. Okay. So this is a soul enemy. Looks like a living flame. And it is unfortunately completely invulnerable to all magic in the game. So the traditional method I've been using to kill enemies at this point has been either teleporting them or using fire. And if I try to use either spell, it's going to basically heal the red soul. So my only other option is to use the fist levels that I've been pumping earlier. Let's do... This also is a particularly dangerous fight, especially if it's an ambush, as the red soul keeps casting these AoE spells that do a lot of damage. And my characters, especially Kalej here, does not gain a lot of health in the early going of the run.
Very nice Red Soul.
Yeah, that was actually very good.
Yeah, luckily after about 4 turns, the red soul actually runs out of MP. So after that, it just uses physical attacks. So the fight becomes a lot safer after that. However, ideally you beat the fight before that point.
Okay, we have the torch, and now I have to go back in to pick up the Sunfire.
Fortunately, you used teleport while you had 1 HP, so you don't have to worry about losing any HP.
Okay. Heal the party back up to where they should be and change their equipments again. Time machine. And then as soon as I step on this tile, a little cutscene plays out here. Princess of Finn and Sid are on that ship, and they're being chased by the Dreadnought here. Unfortunately, the Dreadnought is going to capture them and imprison them for now. So we're just going to skip that cutscene, because it just slows things down here. It's one of the nice features of the PSP version is the cutscenes are skippable here. But everybody can say hi to the first Chocobo in the entire Final Fantasy series. The first and only Chocobo of this game. So he's hiding here in this little forest just south of Kashuan. You can board him and get this nice recognizable tune everybody likes. There's no encounters while you're on here. And he's going to get me to my next destination very safely over here. Oh, I didn't do that right. Well, alright. I was supposed to stay on him and take a couple extra steps and then board the Dreadnought. But we're going to improvise that a little bit. I might get an encounter here, though. Okay. Those 2 encounters I should have skipped if I had been on the Chocobo. But that was my own mistake.
Yeah, and what he does by entering the Dreadnought at a certain step is that he is able to kind of set up his step route to be what it should be, regardless of some shenanigans that might have happened earlier in the run.
Yeah, so I put it to a predictable value by a certain point so that I know where it is from this point forward. Because this could be a dangerous dungeon if you have too many enemies. Let's do... So the extra fire tomes I have are going to come in handy here. I'm going to be able to use them against many more enemy formations that normally I would be using teleport tomes against, just because I'd be trying to save as much as possible for fire tomes. So if I had not picked up extra fire tomes and I had been running low on them, this is one of the few enemies that I would probably have to use a teleport tome on. But since I took the extra detour, I'm not going to have to worry about it. And fire tomes have a shorter animation than teleport. So this is a runnable formation. So once again, Gordon's back healthy, which is not necessarily what we need, though, because he's going to have to take... Anytime I get ambushed, he's going to be receiving every attack. I detour over here to pick up these Thieves Gloves, which raise Taskbot's agility by 10 points. That reduces the likelihood that we're going to be ambushed and raises our chances to be preemptive, in theory. We're still going to be seeing quite a lot of ambushes over the course of this run. That's a nasty encounter, especially as an ambush. These magicians will cast AoE spells and do quite a lot of damage to my party. And if I am at low health, that can be very deadly. Thankfully, that's a runnable encounter, though. So we'll just clean that up and put that back where it was. And I'm specifically using Maria here with Fire Tomes to try to see if I can land a damage roll and kill these mines in one go. They have 190 HP, so she often rolls higher than that, but sometimes she can roll a little bit lower. And sometimes that will take an extra tome. And I did back row my characters again. So this is the danger of just not back rowing, is your characters are just extremely vulnerable and subject to just a lot of ambush attacks, which are very prominent in this game. But if I properly put them in the back row, when enemies ambush me, they can't take attacks against my characters early on, so it saves animation time and keeps them relatively safe against enemies, except against enemies that can cast spells. And then you can also get really unlucky like this, where you try to run away. This is not going well. Oh, I can't run from that. What am I doing? That wasn't smart. Okay. I don't know why I thought that was a runnable encounter. I know better than that. So I'm going to have to repeat that. But much like FF1 PSP, if you try to run from an encounter and it is not runnable, you're not going to get any feedback other than you will not be able to, you just won't succeed. Many later in the games in this series at least offer you the courtesy of telling you you can't run from something. So this is a wonderful time for donations while I'm repeating this.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We have a $10 donation from King Emo Cut that says, "Hey Scythe, what do you call the reoccurring flying ship engineer when he's listening to punk rock while cosplaying as a plainclothes cop while he's angry?" Sid Vicious. Good luck on the run. We have a $25 donation from Traditionology that says, "Money goes to Palmer's Coffee Caraffe's Choice." And thank you so much for that donation. I got a $25 donation from Toku Hero that says, "Shoutouts to Final Fantasy Boxing Simulator." Good luck on your run, Poorscythe. Donation to Runner's Choice.
Thanks, Toku.
I got another $10 donation from Red Silvers that says, been looking forward to FF2 run tonight after how much I enjoyed Poorscythe's FF1 run from last year. Will this be a run where you don't attack your party members? If so, don't beat yourself up about it. Shoutouts to all the RPGLB staff and to the team operating the Twitter. You guys are on point. Also remember, TaskBot, you're alive.
Yeah, who knew this was going to be the game where TaskBot shined? I am looking forward to TaskBot's FF1 run. If you guys have not seen that, that's going to be something special. So I hope you guys look forward to that later this week.
The FF1 task is going to be magnificent. I definitely recommend tuning in for it.
Okay, so I'm unfortunately still getting quite a lot of unrunnable encounters here, which is just slowing me down. I have plenty of resources to handle these, but this is just combat RNG I can't really avoid, and just have to be very vigilant about putting my characters back in the front row or back in the back row after any ambushes, which are unfortunately very frequent. So we had two objectives when we got into the Dreadnought here. One is to stop it, and since it had also kidnapped the princess, we were going to rescue her before we blow it up. Fun fact, you can actually try to go down to the engine room and blow it up first, but apparently your party members object to that if you try to do that. So I don't recommend it. Plus, there's a lot of backtracking, and this is a very long, nasty dungeon. On the plus side, I'm exactly where I want to be on the step count right now. So the longer I can stay on that, preferably without making mistakes, the better it's going to be for this run. If I were to step through this entire run without taking any extra steps anywhere, I'd probably be looking at about 275 random encounters over the entire course of the run. And the advantage of step routing this is that if I properly step where I need to and add steps at specific spots, I can cut out about 30 random encounters. That's a pretty significant drop. And we're now on the final floor here of Dreadnought. I took a quick safety save here because there can be some magician enemies that ambush me and do quite a lot of damage here. These static guards here, if I was to engage them in conversation, would probably kick my butt.
Yeah,
So-
it's the captain enemies, which is, if you were playing this game normally, you might be able to fight them at this point with some difficulty. They're actually the same enemies that you see in Finn at the very beginning of the game, where if you talk to them, they just straight up kill you. It's definitely...
Additionally, if you were able to actually find a way to kill them, I'm pretty sure they do not actually disappear from the map there.
Nope, they just stay where they are.
Yeah, and those enemies are also one tier higher than the sergeant enemy, and each of the enemies have different tiers. So right now, we're mostly seeing tier 1 enemies.
Here we are in the engine room. We get one more encounter here. That's okay. So we should be all set here. Just make sure I back row before I do that. And then I'm going to toss the Sunfire here to the engine.
Make the engine overheat. Okay, maybe go a little farther than overheat.
And then we realize maybe it's not a good idea to be standing right next to the core when the thing overheats. So we get a nice little running montage here.
Can't blame them for running, because it was probably getting a little toasty there.
A little bit.
Thankfully, they're showing us every little screen that they walk through.
It's a good thing this wasn't such a long dungeon.
Is this a good time to sneak in a couple more donations?
Yeah. This is a I'm stuck in a little cutscene here for another minute or so.
We have a $40 anonymous donation. No comment. Thank you so much for that donation. We have a $50 donation from Vaildis, also with no comment. Thank you guys both so much for those donations.
So we rescued Sid here, and Sid's flying us right back to Altair. But unfortunately, we still have a rather somber cutscene to go through over here. So at the start of the game, the king is wounded and not getting better here. And the princess also fails to neglect and mention that the dreadnought is being built as they don't want to worry the king any further. So unfortunately, the king becomes aware of the dreadnought's existence, takes a turn for the worse here, and then shortly after we destroy it, this is unfortunately press F time for the king. So the king tasks Taskbot, Gordon, and Minwu with respective tasks here. So he tasks Gordon with assisting Hilda with running the army. Tasks Minwu with uncovering the Mystic Ultima spell. And in the meantime, Taskbot is tasked with finding out what happened to the Dragoons, which is a powerful group of warriors who have befriended wyverns. They have their own location on an island, and unfortunately in the outset they were attacked by the Empire and almost wiped out, so we're trying to figure out what happened to them. Since I returned the Mithril earlier, I can now purchase Mithril Shields, which have a higher evasion rate than earlier. I can also stock up on fire tomes. I don't really need to do that since I did it earlier, but for the purposes of the step route, I just go through the motions there to keep myself on a predictable count. So I'm going to head over here to Paloom, and unfortunately there's no ship here right now because the ship's in the other town, Poft. Very easy to confuse the two of them here, but luckily there's a nice pirate lady over here who's willing to offer us a free ride on her boat, so surely nothing can go wrong.
I mean, the Final Fantasy games have had such a great reputation with pirates so far in the one game before, but you know, that's probably a fluke. It's gonna be fine.
I mean, she's really nice. I mean, but Maria doesn't seem to like her for some reason.
I mean, it's a
Plage.
Final Fantasy game. We're on a boat. Nothing can go wrong, right?
Well, geez, here we go. I don't necessarily know if it's wise to be throwing fire tomes on what looks like a wooden boat, but it is the most effective way to deal with these pirate enemies here. So 3 tomes will take care of all of them.
Maybe it's not as much about beating up the pirates as it is just throwing fire at them until they realize it's not a good idea.
So instead of being really angry at her, we're going to actually make Layla join our party. And everybody seems really happy about the fact that they just tried to kill us. Okay, so now we actually have manual control of the boat from this point forward, which is very convenient, except now that when I'm taking trips, steps will actually count on the ocean. But the ocean has a very low encounter rate compared to everywhere else. So, Mithril Shield there. Take the gold hairpin off Layla because it looks more fashionable on Taskbot. And then we equip the Mithril Shields we bought because they have a higher evasion rate, which will increase our chances to, you know, take earlier turns and run away from combat encounters here. So thankfully sea encounters are not very dangerous at this point. And we're going to take a little detour over here to a tropical island where there is a black mask laying in a chest at the very bottom of it. It's a key item we need for a later quest to obtain a crystal rod to get the Ultima tome. But this is a convenient time to go take care of this dungeon here. And this is also one of the freest dungeons in the entire run, as every single encounter I can get here is freely runnable. So I just have to go point A to point B as quickly as possible. And this is how enjoyable this game can be, when you can go as fast as possible, get into and out of combat really quickly like this. This game has lightning fast combat compared to many games. So if you get into an encounter and are able to run, it can be over within seconds. Layla's not doing so hot here, so I left her as usual in the front row to take hits for the other party members so that they stay a little healthier. Sometimes she can actually survive the trip through this entire dungeon, but it doesn't look like she's probably going to make it today. But she's hanging out like a champ right now. Oh. Unfortunately, that poison is going to be putting her very dangerously low. And I apologize for the really annoying sound effect of the poison in this game.
At least it's not as annoying as the Famicom version.
Oh yeah. But it's not an FF. It's not an FF game without a really annoying poison sound. Thankfully, it's much easier to tell where you're actually going in this particular version of the game. The graphics in the Famicom version can be a little confusing, as they sort of blend into each other, and your sprite is obscured by some layers. So that should be the last encounter I get before the boss coming up here. So take a quick save. You guys will never guess what these big horns are vulnerable to.
It's not teleport, is it?
Maybe.
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
Oh, maybe so.
Oh.
First try.
Fortunately, none of them got initiative on you.
Shoutouts to the item fanfare. This is one of my favorite fanfares in the entire thing. The remake has this fantastic soundtrack and sound effects, and it's seriously underrated. So now that I'm all set with that, I'm going to take a trip over to Deast to find out what happened to the Wyverns and the Dragoons. So thankfully I know where I'm going, and I have enough landmarks to tell me there, but it's very easy to get lost in this game if you're not sure where you're going. I'm also maintaining the step count here, so if I do this properly, I should get an encounter while I'm on that canoe, but since you can't trigger encounters while in the canoe, you get to skip that one, and then I will get one coming up right about here. So I'll take a quick save just in case, because there are some nasty enemies like ogre mages that can do some damage to me here.
Fortunately, that one just decided to cast Blink.
All right, we skipped the Deast Castle early, just while we were on our way over here, because the Wyvern is in there, but we can't actually converse with him right now. There's a key item I have to pick up here first before I can go and understand his language. Thankfully, it's not buried very deep in this dungeon. But again, with many of the design choices, it seems a little questionable that you have to go into this dungeon to pick up an item, go back to the other one, and then eventually they're going to give me an item which makes me come back here. So I have to double dip it here. And some of these enemies are proving a little stubborn with teleport.
Yeah, this land turtle's being extremely stubborn.
This is the king of all land turtles. There he goes. Okay.
Each needed the compliment.
Just words of encouragement, apparently. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll leave.
Here we go. A dragoon from a pendant from a fallen dragoon here is what we need to be able to converse with him. So I'm going to teleport out. If I'm on the correct count here, I should get no encounters on the overworld between the cavern and getting into the castle here. If I was even one step off, I would get an encounter there. And then this little child here is playing hide and seek with us. He's not very good at it, though. And here's the wyvern. We ask him about what happened to the wyverns, and he tells us that basically there is one remaining wyvern egg that must be submerged in the life spring back in Deast Cavern. Unfortunately, this wyvern himself has been poisoned and is slowly dying here. And this is, again, manipulating my step count while I walk into a treasure room and pick up something that I'm going to be using for a later boss fight. Okay, I need a Sage's Wisdom and a Saint's Spirit, items that, when used in combat, will respectively raise my intelligence or spirit on the character that uses it to the maximum value for the duration of that combat. I'll be fighting some enemies later on that will be can't be very easily killed in 1 or 2 rounds with teleport, so that will help me get more damage out of fire tomes to shorten the combat. So I'm going to get one more encounter here outside, and then I'm going to start to go through the entirety of Deast Cavern, and this is going to be the first real instance of a very reset-heavy part, and I did not save like I meant to. Thankfully, I didn't get yellow souls there. They can appear here. And the souls enemies in general, when you run into them, our party's just not set up to handle them effectively. So if I see them, I'm going to start using save and reset.
Yeah, at this point in the run, yellow souls would probably be the scariest encounter to run into, especially if you've forgotten to save.
So they're immune to all magic, and my party is dual wielding shields from the back row. So the only way they can deal damage is I have to take the shields off. They have to be pushed into the front row, which means at least one round of combat has to elapse, and every single soul that appears is going to be casting a spell before I even get a chance to act. So that's basically going to be a wipe for my party before I could even act. Alright, we'll save here so I don't make any extremely poor choices.
Yeah, in the notes for running this game, there's a lot of like starter notes that are available for anyone that's interested in running, along with a spreadsheet that shows all the unrunnable encounters, along with the like optimal thing to do if you get into the encounter, like using a fire tome, using a teleport tome, and for enemies like the yellow souls and then green souls that you'll see later, and other enemies later, literally the optimal strategy to just reset.
It takes the least amount of time just to try to find a better encounter than it does to deal with the encounter that you get. So what you're going to see me doing throughout this dungeon is I have a general idea of where every encounter is going to be taking place, because I know in general where the count is. So I'll be saving shortly before each encounter, so that in case I get if I get an unrunnable, I can immediately reset and then reattempt it. Oops. Let's not do that. There you go. I haven't seen anything yet. This should be the last encounter on this floor. All the undead are coming out to play.
They definitely are.
Thankfully, Taskbot knows how to throw fire tomes. I don't know where he learned that. All right, this is going to be a particularly dangerous floor as the encounter rate for yellow souls increases on this floor. The less of them I see, the better off I'm going to be.
Don't forget to switch rows.
Good call.
And save.
Yeah, I will keep saving. This dungeon has punished me so many times for failing to save or failing to change rows. I mean, I'm almost mentally scarred from running it so often and getting punished so badly. So, I mean, it's beaten into my brain that I should be very careful. Just in case things go wrong.
And changing your rows back is something that's very easy to forget.
Yes, it's very easy to forget. So repeatedly doing it over the course of the run, it's very easy to forget to do it at least once or twice. And failing to do it at the wrong time can just rip your run. So saving gives you the best chance of recovery in case you make a mistake.
First Gigas of the run.
Yeah, I usually get them a lot earlier than this. Although I have not seen any souls yet, which is a good sign so far. I will, if I'm doing the count correctly, I'm not going to get any encounters on this floor. Okay. Take us out. And then they don't appear on this floor. So I actually got through this without getting any yellow souls, which is very rare.
An extremely good Deist Cave.
Yeah.
Very happy I didn't see them.
Yeah. Even with all the unrunnables, not seeing a yellow soul is always definitely preferable.
But here we have a pack of chimeras guarding the life spring here. So any number from 1 to 4 can spawn in this fight. And surprise, they're vulnerable to teleport. Although the danger of this fight is they can ambush me, and they have a very powerful breath attack, which can, if more than one of them does it, could easily wipe my party here. So we gotta dunk the egg.
I don't remember what level Blaze the Chimeras have, but I know it is enough to deal a lot of damage.
I think it's 9 or 10.
I think it was 10.
And then I'm gonna do one additional encounter here so that I know exactly where the step count is at before teleporting out here. So we're all set with Deist Cavern, actually with the entire island of Deist. So now if I did this correctly again, should get no encounters before I get back on my boat. But I will get an encounter shortly after getting on the boat. And while they're usually very runnable, the sea encounters, some of them can be very dangerous if they ambush you. So it's just better to take a save, just in case. So we're just going to sail back to Altair for probably one of the funniest moments of the run.
Oh, buddy.
Taskbot is looking forward to it.
He doesn't know what he's in for. Okay, so I should get one more sea encounter coming up shortly. Okay. I'll have to take 2 extra steps here before I get off the boat. Here we go, up here. I've been looking forward to this ever since I saw Taskbot was leading the donation named here. So now that we have, dunked the egg, for whatever reason that triggers this next part. And I thought I would show this scene in its entirety.
Come to me.
Furia's portrait is like the funniest thing in this one.
It really is.
Yeah, come on, Taskbot.
Oh.
I'm letting this music play out because this is the only instance of the game where this plays, and this is actually a great track based on an actual ballet called, I think, Swan Lake.
Not so fast, you scurvy snake.
Now, she can't be vulnerable to teleport.
Her only weakness, I bet. That and resistant taskbots. So thankfully it was a preemptive attack here. Don't really want this to be an ambush. Although the most she does is she'll charm our party and try to beat them down one by one.
Or she can just waste lots of teleport tomes. She's really good at that too.
Yep,
I'm
queen of many hidden talents.
I mean, I was only joking about being resistant to teleport.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. First try. Oh, Taskbot. So the princess we rescued earlier was apparently a plant. So now we have to rescue the actual princess who's been imprisoned all the way in the Colosseum over by Palamecia. So once again, we're doing quite a bit of back and forth traveling to get between destinations here. And before I leave, I'm going to be taking some extra steps here. To try to ensure that I don't get any encounters on the overworld here. So I shouldn't get anything while on the boat. And then if I did this properly, I'll save here on the second last tile. The very next step should be the first of 3 encounters I get. So we just have to make our way through this desert here. We just have to take it very carefully because ambushes can be a thing. And that... Okay, so we probably survived that one. Although it was painful, so we'll just fix that. And I should get one more encounter here before I get into the arena. Although these antlions don't have any ranged attacks, so they can't hit us if we're in the back row properly. I'm going to take a quick save here. So there he is. There's the Emperor making his first appearance in the run. Unfortunately, he's trapped us in a bit of an arena and said that if we can defeat this enemy in front of us, he'll reward us with the princess.
Seems like a trustworthy guy.
It's a pretty big dog, don't you think? Wouldn't you know it, though? He's vulnerable to teleport.
Coincidence.
Poorscythe, do you have any idea where they're getting teleported to?
I've never thought about it.
I mean, I'll just go FF1. They're exiled to the 4th dimension.
Maybe FF3. Maybe that's why it's so long.
That could be the case.
Unfortunately, the Emperor was lying to us. So in spite of us winning, we get imprisoned down here. And then here's our old friend Paul that we rescued earlier. Comes in a very timely manner. And playing Final Fantasy Boxing Simulator to rescue us. Okay, so this is a short dungeon, and I have to take 4 extra steps here. This floor, there's no risk of encounters here, but I want to push the count to a proper number before entering this floor because I can definitely get encounters on this floor. Specifically, if I end up on the correct encounter, I will only get 2 encounters over the length of this floor. This is a pretty lengthy floor. So here's the first one. This is actually runnable if I survive, but there's going to be quite a lot of pain here with 4 magicians attacking. And if they sleep me, that could be a real problem. Let's see if anybody wakes up.
Oh no, they buffed their physical attack.
They didn't wake up, so that could be a problem.
At least you're resisting thunder thanks to the gold hairpin.
Yeah. And Clage woke up, but then he took a nap. Alright, so maybe I'll wake up here. No. This is probably a wipe then. I'm going to play it out just to see what happens. Ooh, Taskbot might just pull this off. Taskbot. Oh, that's probably not good. No. His only weakness.
Well, it didn't help that you only had Taskbot up. Because
Yeah, when you there's only like one party member. If enemies use their spells, it's considerably more potent.
about 1.5 times more damage.
So this is a... Well, this encounter is not runnable, but it had the advantage of me not getting slept and, dying. So we found the princess over here, and Gordon wishes to escort her to safety, so he's going to leave us. He properly thanks Taskbot on his way out. Okay, so then I will save here. And this should be the final encounter I get on this floor. Hopefully it's a cooperative one. If I take any extra steps, I would get one more encounter here, and the encounters here could be very nasty. This is actually a very good one. So that one's perfectly runnable. No, if you see me like walking through walls in this game, this is the first game in this series where they introduced, I guess, false walls that you can walk through. There's many, many hidden passages throughout the game. There weren't any in FF1. But there's a lot of firsts in this game that have shaped many of the later games in the series. And hidden passages are certainly something that persisted throughout a lot of the games. So, did I take the extra steps? I don't even know if I did. I think I did.
You did.
Okay. So I took extra steps at the end of the arena there to once again push encounters to a more favorable position here. So this should be the last one I get. Oh, I didn't back row though. That's going to be a problem. That's a problem. Oh well. That's why you got a back row.
The moment that you get punished for not back rowing.
Thankfully, that was a very minor time loss there, so... That's an unusual enemy combination I don't see very often. So that should be the last one I get on land, although the first step I take here after getting on the boat should be an encounter.
Fortunately, it was preemptive.
And then I have to take 14 extra steps, so I'm just going to do back and forth 7 times to take 14 extra steps on the way to my next destination here. 4, 5, 6. I hope I counted that right. 7. Okay. And then I'm going to dock here right next to this river here and use the canoe. No risk of encounters here while I'm traveling across the canoe. If I did this properly, I'm going to get all the way up to Layla up here. Nope, I counted 2 extra. That's okay, then I'll be able to fix that shortly. So that's the dangers of some of these, messing up with the step count in certain locations. Sometimes the count is so tight that just making a very small mistake can instantly lead to extra encounters that you didn't want. Okay. Pick up Layla here. Hopefully I'm not going to get another encounter. I'm not sure, though. If I had done that properly, I would have gotten an encounter on the next step after this. But I got it 2 turns earlier, which means I took 2 extra steps in the ocean there. The goal here is to try to minimize the number of steps I take here, because the encounters here could be very nasty. So again, that's a danger there. Is another extra encounter I didn't want to take. Okay, crisis averted. Except I didn't back roam. Shouldn't be a problem, though. So here's the enemy that has been put in charge of Finn Castle while we were gone. Vulnerable to teleport. Who would have guessed?
And there he went.
There he goes.
And you didn't have to worry about back rowing.
I should have back rowed, but I got away with it.
The luck was on your side.
Okay, so we have retaken Finn Castle, but Minwoo did not complete his task. So we are now being sent to find out what happened to him. I'm going to take some extra steps here. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Okay. That should account. I was going to take extra steps there anyway. Since I took 2 extra earlier, I basically just subtracted 2 from that count to keep myself on the count where I want to be. I should get only 1 encounter on this floor. So every single enemy encounter that I can be encountered on this floor pretty much requires me to use a fire tome to take care of it. So it didn't really even matter what showed up there. I was pretty much preparing to fire tome it immediately. Okay. Get over here, and then I'm going to save here. The vast majority of encounters on basement floors 2 through 4 are actually runnable here, but there is a 1 in 64 chance of running into green soul enemies, which again, soul enemies are very problematic, and again, I didn't back row.
Green soul enemies are interesting in the sense that they actually, all they do is they heal. It's still a reset just because of how much time it takes to kill them. However, that's mostly just because of killing time. They're actually not a threat to the party.
Well, the funny thing is, I mean, if you have your 4th party member, in this case, if Layla was alive and in the front row, that would be very problematic for Green Souls, because it would be very difficult for me to kill her off in order to make sure that my characters that actually have skill levels in their unarmed skill would be able to take attacks successfully. And if I tried to use them to punch Layla, they would also likely try to heal her, which would delay it. This is runnable, okay. Should be 2 more encounters on this floor. Hopefully not green souls. And 1 more here before the end of this floor. Should be okay here. Okay, and there will be 2 more encounters here, but the enemies that I get on this floor are predictable and unfortunately unrunnable here. So I just have to take care of 2 stalagmite fights, and then I'll have everything I need to get through the white mask that's being kept at the bottom here. So the black mask I picked up earlier and the white mask, that is 2 of the key items I need to be able to obtain a crystal rod. They're essentially 2 mechanisms that are guarding the ability to access the dungeon where it's being held. Alright, this should be the last fight of this dungeon. But again, if I take even 1 extra step here, I'm going to get 1 more encounter. So I'm going to try very carefully not to mess that up. I don't know if you have any donations. This might be a great time for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. I got a $10 donation here from RPD234 that says, good to see that even though Lou Dolphin's not here, the tradition of someone showing off one of the more ill-regarded Final Fantasy games is still alive and well. Good luck on the run. I got another $10 donation from RP Priya that says, gotta try for those sweet Chocobo tunes. Good luck on the run.
Thank you.
I have a $50 a $50 donation with no comment from Quantum Well. Thank you so much for that donation, my friend.
Thank you. Okay, so we're on our way to Mysidia here. I'm going to take a quick save here because the enemies can be very nasty here. But this should be the last encounter I get before I get into the town. That's a good one. So that one's perfectly runnable. And then I'm going to go over here to do 2 quick tasks. I'm going to go fill up on teleport tomes because since so many things are vulnerable, my stores are getting dangerously low. So that should hopefully be enough tomes for the remainder of the run. And then there's a statue down here where I have to place the white mask to begin disarming the safeguards set in place to access the crystal rods here. So there are 2 masks, and they have to be placed in 2 specific locations here. I have to place the white mask here on this little goddess statue, and then head out of here. Okay, and take some extra steps there. And then I have to go into the Cave of Mysidia, which is coming up. And there is an NPC that looks suspiciously like Taskbot that is blocking the path. And if I don't place the white mask there, then anytime I try to interact with it, it'll basically mimic my actions and prevent me from advancing any further. But if I place the white mask there, it remains stationary so that I can place the black mask on it and remove it. To get over there, I have to go through 3 overworld encounters here, and again, I just have to take it nice and slow, because these encounters can be very, very dangerous. I think it's hard for viewers to appreciate just how nasty the encounters can really be here, especially with how cooperative they've been looking. But this game can absolutely just kick your butt out of nowhere. So there should be 1 more coming up.
Yeah, in casual play, you can actually grind your characters high enough to where you could take on the encounters in this area, but we're nowhere near powerful enough to really be able to take them on safely. So if we did get attacked by them, they would hurt us pretty severely.
And also, that's slow.
That too.
We don't want to go slow.
Gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast. Okay. So I picked up a black garb there, as it's one more item that raises agility, and I didn't have anything on the body slot for Fear, aka Taskbot. So now I have, he's rocking 3 different pieces of gear, which raises agility, which again should raise his turn order, his chances to go earlier in the turn order, raise the rate of preemptives, lower the ambush rate. At least that's the theory. There's just so many ambushes in this game that it's sometimes hard to tell. The purity of Taskbot's heart is stifling the defiled heart of this creature. So since we placed the white mask, the doppelganger stands motionless, and we can put the black mask on him and make him vanish, and then advance further in this dungeon. Okay, I'm going to get 2 quick encounters here. And I think we've all seen just how nasty sleep can be. So this is still a little dangerous here because of that.
Hello, break. Ooh.
Hello. Don't worry. Taskbots has got this. Maybe not. Ooh, maybe. Ooh. Should be enough. Oh,
Oh.
Oh.
You got
think
this
he was-
Taskbot.
I think we got lucky there because the last enemy was in the back row, so and he was set to take a physical attack, but there was nobody available to do that. So I'm going gold needles to get them back. All right, we'll go to the next room and save. There's going to be another encounter right in here. Okay, we get a nice long stretch here where there's no encounter. And now we're going to get 2 more here. Basically, for every 256 steps I take in this dungeon, I'm going to get 7 encounters, and I'm going to get them at predictable counts. So if I know where I am in the count, it's very easy for me to take preemptive saves. Very next step should be an encounter. Okay. Kind of sad about this floor. This floor is a very winding path. In the Famicom version, there's actually 2 shortcuts you can take to skip so much of it, but it's been taken out of all the remakes. And that was our instance of yellow and red souls there. So I'm not equipped to fight them, so I'm not even going to bother trying. We're just going to quickly soft reset and then resume from where we were. And hopefully get a more cooperative encounter like this. There's the difference between a very good encounter that you can run from and a very bad encounter that you can either not fight or have to spend many times teleporting is just a huge randomness that's part of running this game. It's very much a judgment call. And I mean, sometimes you could just make the wrong call. It's completely up to you. But it comes with experience and just running the game over and over again.
What's surprising is that, I believe, was our first non-boss soul encounter.
Yeah. Usually get them much, much earlier than this. Tease Cavern is usually littered with them. I've had runs that have had me reset easily 10 or more times, and I didn't have to take any this time. Okay. Okay, that should be the last encounter on this floor, and then I have one more floor to get through, which should have 3 more encounters total. Here's number 1. We'll try again. That's better. Okay, so the next encounter is going to be exactly 11 steps away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Make a save. So the shortest distance between any 2 encounters that you could possibly get is 11, and I think you can go as many as 76 between encounters. It's just how wide the gap is between each of the encounters that you can possibly get here. I mean, thankfully it's much better than FF1, where it's possible to get encounters on literal back-to-back tiles. And I think even once I had back-to-back-to-back tiles. So I will take a minimum of 11 tiles any day of the week. Okay, so now we're going to get a very long stretch before the final encounter here. And we'll see what we get. It's a good one. Okay. So that should be the last encounter we get before the crystal rod here. Need the crystal rod to be able to access Mysidia Tower coming up. And now I'm going to take a teleport out. And then in order to set the encounter where I want it, I'm going to force one more encounter here on the first floor and then exit. And I'm going to save just in case it happens to be a soul enemy. The encounter rate here is lower than it is on the overworld, so it's preferable to take encounters in areas where the rate of encounters is lower. Okay. Oops. That's a good encounter. I should get one more before I get on the boat again. And I'll save as soon as I see the water. There we go.
With us having the crystal rod and heading towards the Tower of the Magi, we're coming up to a part of the game that is really enjoyable.
Well, this doesn't look very promising.
Yeah, this looks like a bit of a disaster.
Where are we? Says Tatspot. Leviathan. Wonderful. Okay. Let's take a quick save here. Are we sure this isn't FF4? There seems to be a lot of parallels here.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not.
I mean, they had the same name for a little bit.
It's true.
Okay. So I'll make my way through this. This little stomach acid or whatever it is basically functions the same as lava. While I take steps through it, it doesn't advance the counter, and very similar to the lava in FF1, you can't get encounters while you're taking the damage there. Okay. So that's 3 of the 4 encounters. There should be one more. Not on this floor. There's nothing on this floor except this convenient dragoon. His name is not Kane, though.
If only it were.
His last name is Highwind, though.
His name is Highwind, that's true. And actually, unbeknownst to us, but the little child that we were chasing in East Castle earlier, his name is actually Kane. So Kane's apparently very good at hide and seek, like he was in FF4. Okay, so this is the final boss to get out of Leviathan here. And actually, one cool fact about this is if you look at the map from an overhead perspective, it actually is kind of shaped like a giant, sea monster. So now we're back where we were. I'm going to take 2 extra steps there. And then this is probably the single most important part of the step route right here. A lot of it's been leading up to this point because there are 2 specific floors here that have absolutely ridiculous encounter rates if you are not step counting correctly. So this first floor I should get nothing. And then the very next step I take is going to be an encounter here. Please enjoy this music. It's
Yeah.
one of my favorite tracks in the entire game.
Definitely one of the best songs in this game. This game in general has an amazing soundtrack. This is definitely one of the best ones.
Yeah, I definitely agree with this being one of the best tracks in the entire game.
Save here before there's one more encounter here. And I can't fight a red soul, unfortunately. So we'll reset and try to get something better. That's a little better. Oh, they're munching on Ricard right now. Okay. Take some extra steps here. And save before one more encounter on this floor. But all the setup has been leading up to avoiding as many tiles as possible on the next floor. Because the encounter rate here on the early floors is about 7 encounters for every 256 steps that you take. And the encounter rate on the 3rd floor just jumps to 25 encounters for every 256 steps you take. So that's literally 3 times as many encounters and more if you're caught in the wrong part of the step count. If you do it correctly, though, you'd get nothing right there. Just so on. Okay. And then we hear the first of the Guardians of the Mysidia Tower. So the mages have just put these strength checks in, basically, to ensure that we are worthy to obtain Ultima.
How will we deal with this guy?
It's a mystery. I mean, maybe we could just give him a nice, or a better belt. He seems to be struggling to hold up his pants.
That's actually the test of strength that they referred to.
Oops, that's gonna hurt.
Ooh.
Ow.
Boulder's 9.
I mean, I've never seen like a Boulder's 8 or anything.
I know.
Not that you see boulders 1 through 8 or 10
I mean,
through
supposedly
16.
everything in this game has, like a level 1 through 16 version of it, but many of you have never seen probably. So we've got Clage versus a Fire Gigas. Well, we're going to change the odds a little bit. This is why I picked up Life earlier. It mass reses everyone. It's going to cost Clage, though. Although, on the other hand, you guys get more of this wonderful music track.
Boss Battle 2 is a great track as well.
Yeah.
There he goes.
Okay, we'll fix our party. Okay, I'm going to take extra steps here. And once again, this is another extremely dangerous floor. Actually, not this floor, it's the next floor. But this one it's very short with this shortcut that very conveniently skips about half the floor. I had another runner that did not realize that was a shortcut, and he was very upset when he discovered that was a thing. Alright, saving again because I'm in that minimum range where there's 11 steps between encounters again. Okay, I have to kill these, I think. They've been runnable in previous dungeons here, but unfortunately they're not runnable here. So 3 fire tomes should take care of them. Okay, and then this is the floor that I'm, if I had not been on the step count, would be extremely dangerous here. So these, again, these ice little spikes prevent taking encounters, but this little stretch here afterwards has a ridiculous encounter rate, the same as the other floor with as many as 25 encounters for every 256 steps you take. But if you set it up correctly, you will not get an encounter there. So this is the second of the 3 encounters that the mages have done, and that one was a lot more cooperative.
First go.
Thankfully, I don't need to take any more extra steps at this point.
It's nice to see Ice Gigas go down with 1 teleport tome where Fire Gigas was extremely stubborn.
Yeah, this game can be very frustrating. If you're, like, tracking splits here, you can very easily gain and lose minutes just based on, like, which enemies you run into here or how cooperative or uncooperative Gigas fights can be. So if I could get as many as, like, I think 3 encounters in this section, and if all 3 of them are very quickly runnable, I can have a gold split. So this game, I mean, if you're trying to run this and learn this, you're likely to get gold splits pretty much everywhere all the time. Because between how things can go very fast and they can also go very, very slow, and the gap is very wide between the two. This is unfortunately unrunnable here, but only 2 tomes to take him down, thankfully. And then this floor, excuse me. Save right before here, because there should be 1 more fight here. And then I will get the 3rd of the 3 challenge fights. And that's perfectly runnable. So we'll save here for the Thunder Gigas fight. So if you're wondering if it's really necessary for me to be safe everywhere here, then the short answer is yes. Thankfully it's a preemptive. So I'm going to get a free round of teleport tomes to see if I can take him down. Of course.
Oh, nice.
Too fast for me to take a drink.
Thunder Gigas and Ice Gigas wanted to play nicely.
Okay, so there's still 2 floors I have to get through to get up to the top of Mysidia Tower. So there are no more boss fights like that. That's kind of an ugly fight because I have to split my strategy here to take care of these. So the Death Flowers and the Chimeras are vulnerable to teleport, but the Spectre is not. So the only way for me to clear this group is to mix Teleport Tomes and Fire Tomes to take them out. Or optionally, I can reset this. I'm going to choose to fight in this case and see what happens. See what happens. I could optionally kill both of these with Fire Tomes. Nice block.
Really
Okay.
nice block.
All right, we'll switch to Fire Tomes then. Clage sleeping on the job. Okay. All right, we're on the 9th floor now. There's 1 more floor. Gotta get through 3 encounters on this floor, though. First one should be coming up here. Although, Strangely, the encounters tend to get easier as you go higher in this tower. There tend to be a lot more unrunnable enemy formations. I'm sorry, runnable enemy formations that you can get away from pretty quickly. But they can still be dangerous if they ambush you. And it should be one more here. You see there's like 4 doors here. 3 of them don't go anywhere, except for dead-end rooms that have extremely high encounter rates and no treasure. So it can be very frustrating if you've been playing this casually and you don't know where you're going, to just wander in all these dead ends.
And the worst part is that whenever you enter any of those fake rooms, it puts you right in the middle of the room, so you're almost guaranteed to get at least one encounter trying to get out.
Yeah, it doesn't put you right next to the door that you walk through. It takes an extra step. Ooh, sorry.
Min was charging his laser, and now he's firing the laser.
So we finally located, Minwoo up here at the top of the tower. But unfortunately,
Did he have that move when he was in your party?
maybe. Which spell was that?
Definitely not the one we're about to get.
Touche.
Oh, geez, you're going to have to get your Bible thumps again. Your Fs. So unfortunately, Minwoo sacrifices himself to remove the seal on the door in here. And then here's some orbs.
But they're not elemental orbs.
So we've now obtained Ultima. Arguably one of the worst spells in the entire game.
Yep, in the
So
original.
why the Mysidians, sealed it away, it's a bit of a mystery.
Yeah, in the original Famicom version of the game, the spell was actually just straight up broken and didn't work. The way it's supposed to work, I believe, is that it gets its strength along from just the level of using the spell. It gets its strength from the total, added up weapon skills, which is weird because if you're
I think it's the magic skills, actually.
magic skills, okay.
Both weapon and magic skills, and then it multiplies it by the level of Ultima itself, resulting in the final damage done from the spell. So, theoretically, you can have all of your weapon skills and all of your other magic at level 16, and Ultima at level 10 will deal 9,999 damage.
So we've now returned over to Castle Finn, and there seems to be a nice giant cyclone just hovering nearby. Apparently it's going to be the doom of us all, although it's not moving anywhere. I need to find the pendant.
Yeah, if you go back to previous towns, they're actually completely inaccessible. They've been destroyed by the cyclone.
Yeah, many of the earlier towns are now no longer accessible.
That egg that we dropped into the life spring has now become Wyvern, and we will use said Wyvern to enter the cyclone.
Hooray, they're back together.
Yeah.
And now they're flying away. Okay, so we need the Wyvern to be able to access the cyclone here. There's a castle floating at the top of that right now that's otherwise inaccessible. But before I go in there, I'm going to take a quick detour over to Paul's house. Yeah, he even has a house over here. I'm going to push him out of the way because I want to keep my step count where it is.
Time to get the best sword in the game.
Oh, yeah. There it is, the Blood Sword, which is going to be the savior of the remainder of this run. So I'm going to put it on him instantly and put the gear I just looted to raise his agility for the upcoming combat. And then I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 steps here, and then warp out. If I I did that correctly, I should get no encounters here in the overworld between exiting there and going into the cyclone here. Alright, now we have to climb the cyclone. There are, I believe, 7 floors.
Yes, 7 floors.
This used to be one of my most hated dungeons until I did the step route, and then it's been considerably easier to deal with since then. This is unfortunately an unrunnable formation, though. So we're finally on our way to deal with the Emperor, who's currently sitting on the final floor. Just gotta make our way up there. Alright, if we stepped correctly, there's nothing on this floor. There should be 2 on this floor. I had to take a moment to think about that one, because it's not always easy to recognize if you're running into an unrunnable encounter. And it's better to pause and take a second to see if you can recognize something than it is to just blindly act and hope it was the right move.
The Devil's Bloom's being stubborn.
They do tend to be very stubborn here.
Yeah, Devil's Blooms tend to be some of the more obnoxious enemies that are still vulnerable to teleport to actually get the teleport to proc on.
Tailspot's going to take a little nap here.
I'm working hard.
Alright, so that was runnable, thankfully. Now I get only 1 encounter on this floor.
Is there time to sneak in a few donations, Poorscythe?
Yep.
So I have a $25 donation from Generic Fighter that says, speed runs are cool, so are challenge runs, and doing either to help those in need is the coolest. Events like yours, the 5-Job Fiesta, Final Fantasy VII Materia Lockdown are fun to watch and amazing to get resources to people that need them. Thank you all so much for ruining my attempts to have a stable sleep pattern this week. I get a $10 donation from NPC. Says just a normal NPC wanting to make a donation for a good cause, and to name one of the characters Bart Pig because he is truly a hero of this generation. Which brings me to my next point. We are nearing $30,000 in total donations, and there are some amazing challenges that you guys can fulfill and unlock for some of the upcoming runs, including the Breath of Fire 4 Dragon Form Showcase that you guys are really going to want to see. On top of that, there are some bid wars to name some of your favorite characters from some of the upcoming runs, so make sure you guys get those in to take full advantage of those while they're still available. I have a $1, you're fine. I have a $1 donation from Anonymous that says, early morning crew is best crew. Thanks for providing great RPG entertainment over breakfast. Shout out to everyone in chat up at this hour as well.
Sorry, I'm still getting over a cold that I've had for about a week now.
Got a $5 donation from IR Geek that says, thank you guys for doing what you do and keeping me company while slinging some code at work. We're happy to help, my friend.
I think we've got time to grab some breakfast while this Devil's Bloom is
No kidding
having its
there.
fun.
There we go.
Hazbot's not having a good day, though. Okay, should be done with that floor. I have to get through one more fight before the upcoming gauntlet with the Emperor. So coming up after this is going to be a 3-fight gauntlet. The fights are going to be in succession, so I'm not going to have a chance to heal or do anything in between them. The goal I'm going to be doing is trying to get through all 3 of them in one go. Just got to get through this Royal Guard first. So I'm going to have 2 consecutive fights with a bunch of Royal Guards, and then I'm going to have a fight with the Emperor himself and a couple of other baddies that are his henchmen. Well, these guys are really being stubborn. This is probably one of the worst Cyclones I've seen recently. It's making up for Dee's Cavern being really nice, though.
It's also making up for the second half of Tower of the Magi being really nice.
Jeez.
Wow.
Man. This is pretty brutal.
What was that you said about Cyclone not being bad after step route?
Well, and now I hate it. Thanks, I hate it. Okay. Run a card's back alive again. Yeah, normally it's not that bad.
It makes sense after you get everybody back up, then the guard's just like, okay, I'll submit.
Okay, we need everybody back full here. Alright. Okay. Hey, these guys look familiar. But now we got sweet music to battle them with. The real goal here is to try to keep Ricard as healthy as possible, because I want him with as much HP as possible entering the third fight. He has the Blood Sword equipped right now, so if he lands any attacks, it will drain HP back to him. I hate this cold, too. Oops, wrong one. Well, Ricard's got somewhere to be, I guess.
He's not really feeling this fight.
No, he's not.
He's got a jet.
It's like after the last couple, he's like, you know, maybe this whole fighting the Emperor thing's not.
Not all it's cracked up to be. Okay, so he's in pretty healthy shape. I'm really just hoping this fight is not an ambush.
Yeah, if this one's an ambush, that's going to be pretty painful.
Oh,
I'll take
preempted.
that. Nice. Oops, actually, let's do... Okay, so Clage is going to be using a Sage's Wisdom to raise it, to max out his intelligence. Oh, wow. Got 'em
wow.
all.
Oh, wow.
Oh. All right, that's going to make up for Cyclone. Maybe I love Cyclone now.
So the Blood Sword has a unique property to it where instead of just doing a base damage, it actually does 1/16 of an enemy's HP per hit that it does. So like there you saw that it did, that when Ricard hit with it, had 6 hits. So that means it did 6/16 of the enemy's HP. And so if you manage to hit an enemy 16 times with the blood sword, that'll kill it.
So that fight went really well. All the fights leading up to it kind of sucked, though. We did it, guys.
Yay.
I think that's the end. But we can't end it before we have a dance party. All right, so we're going to celebrate. TaskBot's going to show us how he dances.
And this is like the only major input break in the game as far as...
This and that escape sequence from the Dreadnought is probably the two longest, breaks you get in the run. Yep, party's over.
F's in chat for that random soldier.
For the messenger. It looks like our pal Dio has assumed the mantle of Emperor. This is the most pointless walk up in the entire game. You walk all the way back up there, and then as soon as you gain control, there's nothing you actually want to do in the castle, so you instantly leave.
Chat seems to be quite distraught with the copious amount of death in this game.
Well, they're not going to like this then.
We're not done yet.
We are not done yet by any means.
So our pal Sid was riding the airship and got a little close to the Cyclone, apparently.
F's in chat for Sid.
Don't worry, he'll be back at FF3.
And he's leaving behind his airship for us, too.
Oops. She is out of MP. Okay. Something that happens every once in a while, but not very common. Okay. So now we have to go pick up his airship, which he left at a very inconvenient location, halfway across the map. I'm saving here because if I get a sea ambush that kills me, I'm going to be very upset that I have to repeat all of that Emperor fight and everything.
I got a quick donation here for $2.99. This says, "You expected the new emperor, but it was me, Dio."
Going to take a couple extra steps here, and then we can board the ship, and finally we could go wherever we want in this ship. So over 2 hours into the run, we finally have control. We're just going to go take it on a little air raid here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I should probably clean that up. That's annoying. I also have to take Ricard's gear off because if I don't do that and get past a certain point, that's going to be very bad. Take that off, take that off, take that off. And you can have a giant saddle and a black robe. So we're now in Palamisia Castle here, getting ready to challenge Dio at the top of his throne. But unfortunately there was a trapdoor, which puts us all the way back down to floor 1, so we have to climb back up 8 floors again to get up there. Thankfully this is one of the more forgiving dungeons in terms of enemy encounters, because many of them are runnable here. There is a rare chance, there's a 1 in 64 chance of getting an enemy called an Imperial Shadow, which looks just like the Emperor we just took care of, and it's unrunnable and unkillable with my party setup. So I'm just going to take occasional safety saves in case of that. Alright, so we're on floor 2. First 4 or 5 floors usually aren't too bad. The higher floors you start to see some generals, which can slow this down. Otherwise, this is one of the easier dungeons in the run. Certainly one of the more forgiving ones when you get good encounters. And these Godos enemies are actually runnable here, whereas they were unrunnable in other locations. So far so good here. Save here on the 4th floor. Making quick progress so far. Apologies to headphones users. Okay, one more encounter here. This is what I'm trying to avoid, are these general encounters. They are unfortunately unrunnable here. And they hit pretty hard. But, like many things in this game, they happen to be vulnerable to teleport. Although they're not shown it yet. That could be a problem.
Ooh.
You got it, girl. Probably not going to do it.
Nope.
Nope.
That slash for 1764 hurt.
I wonder if they get overkill if they kill you.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Of course. Of course. Okay, I gotta say here. This is one of the easiest places to make a silly mistake here. When you enter this floor, it looks very similar to another dungeon, and in the other dungeon here, you go the other direction when you reach that point of the floor, and on this one you have to go down instead. It's very easy to accidentally just kind of start walking the wrong direction and get off the step count accidentally. There's nothing like hitting a guy at 1 HP for 1400.
That is true overkill.
Okay. Oops. That didn't change anything, thankfully. See, this dungeon just instantly turns around, and I went pretty effortlessly through the first 3-4 floors, and then now I'm getting unrunnable every time I run into something. I'm actually a little worried I'm going to be running a little low on tomes for the final dungeons.
Yeah, I'm wondering how your tome count's going to be entering Pandemonium.
It's slow right now. I'm just getting a lot of encounters that are just taking larger number of tomes than usual. Okay. Fortunately, I have to save here because I'm going to get another encounter in a few steps. This is worrisome, though. Getting really low on teleport tomes. Most runs don't get quite this low. I had this happen at a practice run earlier, and it was a little unfortunate. Even these, wow. So there should be 3 more total encounters. This should be the 3rd last one before the end of this dungeon. Go away. 11 tomes. That's very low.
That's really, really low.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to make a quick detour to get more. Don't want to have to do that, but I don't think I'm being given a choice. Let's actually just do fire tomes then. Save some tomes. These last 3 floors have been just brutal. Thankfully, there's only 1 more encounter here after this.
Hopefully it'll be one you can run away from.
That would be nice right now. Nope. Yeah, just a parade of endless encounters here.
So many unrunnables.
Yeah.
I hate Cyclone. I hate Palamecia. Let's see.
Yeah, Palamecia.
I like Mysidia though.
Palamecia hasn't been kind to you at all.
No, this has been brutal. Okay. Thankfully, we made it all the way. Just make sure people are where they need to be. Finally, we're confronting Dio.
And then, surprise, the Emperor's not actually dead.
What a twist.
Yeah, so you killed the Emperor, and then his soul went to Pandemonium and actually killed the devil and took over Pandemonium. So he's kind of an evil dude.
Okay. Ricard calls the Wyvern here to try to save us here. And opts to hold off the Emperor by himself. Now, we don't actually see the death, but you might want to drop some Fs for Ricard in chat there. Because I don't think he's coming back from that one. Alright, and we finally have our final party of the game.
And you may have noticed that Castle Palamecia changed, and now it is actually Pandemonium.
Okay. Alright, Dio has agreed to fight with us. Last time that happened, we died instantly. Okay.
I mean, based on how the last couple dungeons have been going,
I'm really hoping you get a good Jade Passage.
What are we doing here? Okay. Want to make sure the Blood Sword is equipped on Dio, specifically on his left hand, because Dio is actually left-handed. I have to detour over to Mysidia to get some more tomes because the number I had to burn there was ridiculous. This is unfortunately going to basically ruin the step count for the rest of the run. Actually, let's just... what is it next? Wonderful.
I got a $5 donation for you here from all the teleported enemies in the 4th dimension. It says, "We are sorry. Please send help."
Has he seen Warmack?
He's seen Warmack.
Has he seen Warmack?
I was supposed to have like a lunch date with Warmack last year, and I missed him.
Stood you up.
Alright, so we are in the last 2 dungeons of the game, and these 2 dungeons are actually going to be connected through the teleporter.
Yeah, this is the final rush to the end of the game. Unfortunately, I'm off the step count now, and I don't really know where I am. I was hoping not to have this happen where I had to take a detour to buy more tomes, but apparently the game said no today.
But we have the Jade Passage and Castle Pandemonium itself remaining, and then that will be it for this run. If he were still on the step route, then this dungeon would be a lot safer, but because the step route's been thrown off, it's anything goes.
It's still technically there, it's just I don't know where I am in the... and I can take a very educated guess if I just very carefully study the encounters and how often I'm getting them. But it just unfortunately costs extra time versus having an idea, oops, where I am and when they're coming up. Okay, I'm going to save here because this 3rd floor and the 5th floor are usually the biggest trolls here. Okay, this waterfall hurts, but doesn't advance the counter while I'm going underneath. So most of the encounters here are runnable. The only ones that are not are white dragons and green dragons. They're probably going to show up now that I've invoked their name. Dio
Oh, no.
has some amnesia there. Okay, I'm just going to take a save here. Ugh. Well, this could be ugly.
Indeed.
Ouch.
Getting roasted.
Literally.
Really glad I saved. Okay. So, I'm not sure how many people are aware that there's a hidden shop here behind this waterfall here. Selling magic, of all things.
If I remember correctly, one of 2 shops where you can get Flare.
Alright, I have 3 more floors to get through here in Jade. And then I have 10 to get through in Pandemonium itself. Okay, this is the longest of the remaining floors. Probably helpful if I could figure out where I am in the count. So I'm just going to carefully look at my step count so I can see if I can figure out where I am. 12,779. Okay. Well, that was actually rather quick, so that tells me where I am. That's the 195 encounter. So the next one should be coming up shortly. might be the last I get. Okay.
All right.
So here we go. Final dungeon.
Into Castle Pandemonium.
I am saving instantly here.
Yeah. The encounters here are absolutely brutal. You're going to face the strongest monsters in the game here, and they are no joke. These Death Riders do have the ability to drain you whenever they hit you with melee attacks, and they hit very hard.
On the plus side, though, it has a great song. But yeah, this last stretch of the game is no joke. Like, even on step route, this area can just be super, super trolly if it wants to be.
If I had been on the step route when I entered this dungeon, there should be 21 random encounters over the course of it. Considering I only entered with about 11 tomes earlier, that was not going to be anywhere near enough. Shoutouts to the music, though. This is a fantastic dungeon. And shoutouts to Mutsky, who brought this to his attention during the FF9 run back at HDQ. If you happen to play the Pandemonium track from FF9 at 2x speed, you'll notice that it sounds very, very similar, if not identical, to this track. It's a very cool tidbit.
Got a quick $1 donation for you from Red Silvers. It says, only saying their name backwards can return the monsters from the 4th dimension.
Dio, what are you doing? That's not very friendly. Okay. I'm really tempted to reset these at this point because this is getting a little ridiculous. There's no guarantee I'm going to get a better encounter. So this is just kind of a judgment call at this point. I mean, for those of you keeping track, my PB is 227, so that should give you some idea how this run's going. Not that I should be anywhere near a PB with the strats I'm using. I'm taking it super safe, or trying to. Man.
At least that Lamia Queen didn't take as many as the last one did.
That one's runnable, thankfully. That should get me off this floor finally. Oh my god. Spoke too soon.
Alright, second floor of 10.
Some of these will go much faster than that floor, though. It's a Lamia party, and we're invited.
She punched Dio pretty hard there.
Come on. Come on, Taskbot, you can do it.
There we go.
Just need some encouragement.
Called upon the power of Taskbot.
yeah.
The good news is now that Dio is dead, we can continue doing the back row strat from earlier to help mitigate some of the ambushes that might happen.
Okay, this is runnable. If I survive this, it's runnable. Some nasty Manus is just conjuring fire from nowhere, though. Okay, 2 floors down.
I got 2 donations for you real quick if you got the time.
We got plenty of time, unfortunately.
The first one from Tiny Tim 78131 says, "Hey y'all, loving the Final Fantasy II run. Good luck with the teleports. Cheers."
Please run. No. Gotta reset that one. There's 2 enemy formations with Mithril Golems, and they could look very similar to each other, but if I fail to run from one, it's more than likely it's the unrunnable formation.
I got a $10 donation from Miuk Aimal. It says, "I said my name backwards, but I'm still stuck in the 4th dimension."
Nope. Not what I do. Chat, I hope you're getting F's ready for the estimate.
Rip estimate.
RIP estimate. They were so much kinder to me in practice.
It really was.
Yeah.
What a crew here.
Come on, Tazbot, you got this.
Come on, Top Sat. There you go.
Top set.
It's ridiculous. Oh my god. Go away,
And stay in the 4th dimension.
please.
At least you got another Sage's Wisdom out of that.
Maybe if I use that, I'll teleport faster.
There you go.
Okay, get me off this floor, please. Please be runnable.
Oof.
Please be runnable. Thank God. That's another one of those ones that can look like one of 2 different formations, and one of them is unrunnable, and the other is runnable.
Pandemonium 4th floor.
All right, so 3 floors down finally. This one's pretty short, though. Okay. Should probably just reset this, honestly. Just speed this up. Let me give it a shot, though.
The Lamia Queen every time.
She just doesn't want to go.
Goodness.
She's not been kind the whole run.
Yikes.
I mean, she's not particularly dangerous, at least, but this is just not... She's just wasting my time at this point. I'm getting angry. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So now if I'm keeping score, I don't like Cyclone, Palamecia, or Pandemonium. I probably could have teleported that, but I think you guys are getting about as sick of teleport as I am. There's one I can run from.
Yay.
See how quick that can go? Why can't I get more of those? I'll try and teleport. No, I'm not going to try to teleport if he's going to do that.
Yeah, stop 8 there wouldn't have been the most kind thing.
That one's runnable. Thank God for all these shortcuts, though. This would be so much
Seriously.
worse without these.
With as many shortcuts as Pandemonium has, it's really nice.
All right, new goal. We'll try to beat 3 hours. That one's runnable.
Yay.
We can do it. There's a chance. Probably got one last nasty floor, though. I was about to, like, reset that.
I felt that reset coming on,
There's
too.
Slack.
Now to run all the way around the floor.
Yeah, this is a long floor. But this is the last really long floor. Nope.
At least the in-game time will be underestimate.
Oof. Ran the wrong way. Didn't I not save that for that last encounter? That's runnable at least. We're just gonna get nuked first.
Those wolves want to rain fire upon you. I hope Iron Giant shows up. Seeing Iron Giant would be great.
I'm not fighting that. After everything else I've been going through, I'm not fighting that.
We do have another $5 donation from Nuik Emal. Says, of course I'm angry. Every time I get out of the 4th dimension, you send me right back. I'm also angry at the host for censoring the last half of my previous comment. I'll take care of you after my revenge on Taskbot if I ever get out of here again. I'd also like to take this time to remind everybody that we are RPG Limit Break, a PG-13 stream. Just PG even.
There's a runnable encounter.
That one's runnable.
Yay. Amazing,
Hey,
those still exist.
New goal. We're going to finish this run. Regardless of how long this takes. Or until I get Mercy killed. I'm very close, though. So. There's
Hello, dragon.
something new, at least.
It is.
It's probably going to kill me, though.
First dragon of the run.
Is that true? It could be true.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the first one.
Yeah. You didn't get any in Jade, so.
Oh.
Yay.
Okay, that one went away, thankfully. Oops, not very good. Alright, we're on the 8th floor. There's really should not be too many encounters left at this point.
2 floors to go.
Alright, so...
Thanks, game.
You know, if you donated $10 for every Lamia Queen I've seen, we might pass 30,000.
I've lost count of how many Lamia Queens we've seen.
Too many.
I bought 70 tomes and I'm down half of them already.
Oh, jeez.
And that was like 70 more than I planned to buy.
Go away.
I hear the fourth dimension is great this time of year.
8th floor down. 2 floors left.
Unfortunately, they're both fairly short floors.
Queen. Final Fantasy II Lamia Queen percent.
New category. Light show percent. Clage, get up, please.
Oh yeah, Thunder 16. I forgot Blue Dragons have that.
Ooh.
Ouch.
I want to cast Light, but I think he's just going to cast Light Thunderstorm again.
Come on, Taskbot.
Ow.
Ouch.
Maybe this is a sign I should stop running this game. Oh my god, 1 floor left.
Woo!
All right, we're coming up to the Emperor.
We might be only like 5 attempts away from finishing this run.
Yeah, depending upon how.
Oh my god, it's a miracle. Okay. All right. So we're done with random encounters.
Now to hope that the Emperor doesn't starfall you to death.
Okay. Where's the hastes? There they are.
Good luck against the Emperor.
Oh.
Right off the bat.
Oh,
Well, at least he didn't do anything.
Oh no, he used Dispel on his first turn.
Okay, so the strategy here is to use the Blood Sword. I'm going to be hasting Dio with any luck, if that's a thing. This could be as little as 2 rounds. More likely to be 3 or 4. But I really just want him to be alive for 2 or 3 consecutive rounds.
Yeah, that's half his HP.
Yeah, there's
that's-
7,500 already.
He's half dead. Time could be coming up any hit now. It's okay. We didn't hit the...
Oh, right.
That's time.
That's time.
That is time.
God.
GG.
Go away.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I'm not mistaken, that's a Lamia Queen % world record.
That would be my first world record then.
You mean you don't count your FF1 console world record?
I suppose. Go away.
He's the only one that was actually nice to you this whole run, though.
First try, actually. That's right.
Yeah,
And both
he
fights.
was.
Both fights.
So the rest of this is just a quick, short cutscene while everybody says goodbye, and Dio broods and goes off by himself. But I'd like to thank my couch for helping out with this. I know there's not a huge amount of people that are knowledgeable about FF2, and getting many of them in the same place is very difficult. Big shout outs to the FF2 community, especially Nikki Noel, the pioneer of this general route. Many of the mods and leaderboard mods for the FF2 community here, and for the tech crew here for not mercy killing this run like I really want to. And a big shout out to Lamia Queens. Please go away.
Can we get another hand for Poorscythe and his incredible run of Final Fantasy II? Thank you so much for that, Poorscythe, and to everybody currently watching, we are actually going to take the stream down for just a second, so make sure you're staying on that refresh button so you maintain the utmost quality of your stream. Thank you very much.
Good morning, welcome to RPG Limit Break 2019. I'm going to be your host for the next little while. I'm TinyTim78. And we are now just going to be waiting to set up for the next run, which is going to be Children's Zodiacs by Wolf. While we're waiting for that, I'd like to just give you a little rundown on some of the donations or bid wars that we're waiting for at the moment. You do have the option for Curse of the Azure Bonds of naming the baggage character. Currently we have Richie at $5 for that. You can also choose what is your quest, and we are currently going to be seeking the Grail at 135, but there is time obviously for that to change. We can also choose our favourite fruit, and currently we seem to be going for the mango at $50. We also have the option of the letter or number of power, and currently F is the letter of power at $10 currently. If you'd like to change that, then there is the option still there. And finally, we have the option of naming your 6 heroes. We've got lots of different options here. Currently, the 6 that would be accepted would be Dan at $225, Scub at $50, Bart Pig at $10, Amanda at $5, Duncan at $5, and Jeff at $5. But if you'd like to get your own choice or your own name in for those, you do have a bit of time left on that. Okay. While we're waiting to get set up here, I'd just like to give you some more information about why we are here. We are RPG Limit Break 2019, proudly supporting the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI. To get involved in the fight against mental illness and the stigmas it can bring, reach out to NAMI via their state organisations or on Facebook, where they can be found as NAMI, on Instagram and Twitter as @NAMICommunicate. Or check out their Tumblr blog, notalone.nami.org. It's not weakness to need help. Reach out if you think you need help. I'd also like to make you aware that your donations can also put you in the running for some of our prizes. We currently have a Nintendo Super NES Classic Edition with 2 controllers and 21 games, and if you put in a donation of $20 or more, that will put you in for that. And remember, our grand prize is the Nintendo Switch and RPG bundle. That's a cumulative $100 donation across the whole marathon. We'll get you in the draw for that. Got a couple of donations here. We have $20 from Ryan Ramsey, who says, "Great run, commentary was great." And I agree with that. That was a really good Final Fantasy II run. Very, very enjoyable indeed. We've also got $10 from NPC that just says, "Doom Tube." Not quite sure what that refers to, but I'm sure somebody will enlighten me. And we also have a $20 donation from Lamia Queen 7, Who says you win this time? As always, we do have some donation incentives that are to be met if you'd like to see these extra pieces of content. This is coming up a little bit later on in the marathon. We've got Breath of Fire 4 Dragonform Showcase. We're needing $1,500 for that, and currently we're on $478.91, so doing quite well. Just needs a little bit more on that, but there is plenty of time. We also have another Breath of Fire 4 incentive, which is to fight the Angler, needing a beefy $1,000 for that, but we've got 295 already, and again, a bit of time still for that one to come through.